Mike from around the world. Mike!
Paul Bagley, how are you doing this evening?
I'm trying to stay alive from the waves of energy.
Well, I'm kind of ducking too. Yeah. We're going to, well, I guess we can, you probably want to dive into that.
Yeah, let me read to you something that just came over the wire to us. And I don't know if you know who Laura Wells is, but she is she's got a title. I don't know what you call these people who really study everything out there. But she's an expert in this area, and she just sent an email and said, something definitely just hit the sun. A wave of energy is hitting the sun right now. A major X-class 1.2 solar flare has just released today, January 5th, out of sunspot AR 3182, which was turning Earth facing today. The flare has already caused a shortwave radio blackout, affecting most of the South Pacific, including Australia and New Zealand. And I've been reporting just before you came on, Mike, that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration issued a release of an incoming wave 15 minutes before we came on the air, and they dated it tomorrow, January 6th, okay, 2023. So they were getting out ahead of it, I guess. So let's dive in, Mike. Enough of me talking. Tell us what's going on with the January 5th wave.
Well, here's one of the issues with any kind of wave coming in, right? At the sun, everybody knows about solar winds. They go out to the heliosphere, all the way past Kuiper Belt to the heliosphere. It was at about 8.7 billion miles. But if we did not have that, Pastor Paul, right now, even with the Earth's magnetic field, let's just say the magnetic field of the Earth was twice or three times, four times stronger than what it is right now. If we did not have the heliosphere, all of us would die, okay? Because galactic cosmic rays are constantly pressing against our solar system. And the solar winds shoot out from the sun, right? Yeah. That pressure, that heliopause or that pressure causes a bubble around our entire solar system, a continuous bubble. Solar winds going out, winds that can reach up to 2 million miles per hour. They go out, they go right to the heliosphere, and they are resisted, or they hit a wall of galactic cosmic rays trying to come inbound. Some of them pour through, right? Some of them don't. Galactic cosmic rays are small subatomic particles, and if they penetrate the nuclei of cells, they can cause, in fact, they can change chemical composition. They can destroy or reorder DNA and cells, right? So they can cause a lot of damage. If we did not have the heliosphere, we'd all die. Doesn't matter what the Earth's magnetic field would be. We wouldn't make it, right?
Okay.
So whenever a pulse comes in, you're not only dealing with more galactic cosmic rays, but the heliopulse or the heliosphere is already being resisted by other galactic cosmic rays that constantly come in, constantly. So any uptick in that pressure, it lets more particles come through, and that's what we're facing. Since January 2nd, right, we've had some small, I'd say maybe a trickle or two from different sides. We had today, the buildup began probably around, I'd say probably about 3 hours ago. It started to build up at the heliopause, picked up by two probes. One of them was so intense that they had to do some or send out some code because they have to do some adjustments. That's a lot of money out there just sitting out there, right?
Yeah.
And these galactic cosmic rays, they're traveling at about the speed of light. They can damage electronics and everything else. And of course, those small probes don't have enough to create a magnetic field to redirect that stuff. So, damage is incurred. Well, it's coming inbound, and our sun is going to be the recipient of all those rays, but so is the Earth. Now, the Earth may be able to absorb most of them, it may not. They have to pick up a wave pattern. And here's what we're talking about. From the heliosphere, which is way outside, that big bubble, right? The big bubble the solar system is in, there are magnetic ripples that go inward toward the sun, or it's kind of like a vortex of magnetic field lines. Most of these particles will begin to follow those field lines directly into the sun. depending on how they are positioned, depending on how the waves are positioned, the Earth could sit right smack dab in the middle of one of those intersect points, which is what we could face within a range of time from about, I'd say now, it's probably about 5 to 10 hours.
What?
We could face some of that. Now, it's been a buildup since January 3rd, right?
Yes, yes.
In fact, one of the first smaller detections took place January 3rd. Two of the bigger pulses hit today, just today, few hours ago. And so those effects are going to continue to pour in. That could really cause the sun some issues.
When you say two of those pulses, you're saying the wave of January 5th is causing also pulses? Is that right?
Yeah, it is. It's actually a pulse of concentrated. Think of somebody throwing water on you, right?
Okay.
Some of the water is going to be concentrated in certain areas, and other parts will just be tiny little water droplets. That's what we're facing.
Okay.
So it's all pouring in to our solar system. It already overwhelmed the heliosphere, and we already have a neutrino increase count down in some of the sub-laboratories already. So that's what we're facing. Now, this has to be monitored, of course, because our magnetosphere has, I believe they said, 38 places in our shielding of the Earth, which are extremely weak. So that means even right now, we're going to get to the point at some point where solar winds can get through there. Now, again, just to remind everybody, without the magnetic shielding of the sun, right? The sun has to be very active to keep the heliosphere going. If the sun degenerates because there's not enough activity coming off the sun, it's just not. It's not pushing back some of these pulses as it should or as it could. And because, the sun is not pushing out those solar winds strong enough, the galactic cosmic rays are overwhelming the force of those solar winds coming right into us. Just remind everybody, without the magnetic shielding of the heliosphere, everything on Earth would die. In fact, if something happened to the heliosphere right now, right, within 24 hours, I would say 50% of life on this planet will be dead. And about, I give it a week, 100% of life would be dead. So that's how dangerous these galactic cosmic rays are. They are deadly. They're more than dangerous. They're fatal. They're deadly, fatal to everything.
So you are, okay, and I can hear it in the pitch in your voice. I can feel the excitement and the analyzation that you've been going through. You're privy to some information that we're not. Are the scientists, are they going crazy tonight? I mean, are they glued to their panels and
well, it's a very burning, or I'll just say mind-numbing balancing act that's happening at the heliosphere. Right? Yeah. Sounds like a harmless term. Galactic cosmic rays sounds like a normal term. Yeah. It's only been normal because the sun has been shielding us all this time.
Yes.
But Pastor Paul, the sun's activity, although it sends out spurts of power, the sun is weakening its ability to stop these galactic cosmic rays from coming in at the time when we need it most, because they've already detected certain magnetars. There are detections in space that indicate we're going to undergo some magnetar hits. And of course, that's a planet killer, just so everybody knows. As a 1 inch by 1 inch block of a magnetar, right? When it shifts, just a 1 inch by 1 inch block, when it shifts on such a concentrated ball, a magnetar, it sends out a pulse that's able to destroy life on this planet. It can knock our atmosphere totally off, and we'll end up like Mars in a week. It doesn't take that long, right? But we do have our shielding, which means once these magnetar waves come in, that's an earthquake 1,000%. That's going to be an earthquake because the Earth cannot rebuttal the forces that are inbound. Not only that, but one of the biggest issues, even right now, is the sickness of people. These rays, once they concentrate, they always hit the surface of the Earth, always, but they will increase. And when this happens, radiation sickness is going to be very real. Imagine a person being exposed to radiation over time, right? No symptoms on the skin so much, but internally, nausea, unending migraines, a metallic taste in your mouth. Eyesight is gone. Your certain soft features of your nasal cavities gone. No smell. Almost like you had COVID-19, mumps, chicken pox, monkey pox, and everything else all at the same time, until ultimately you begin to liquefy, and that's what would take place. And you know what? There is a place in the Bible, because there's a weapon that utilizes that same. Let's just say that same pattern, right? It's not we're not talking about a nuclear weapon. There are worse things in nuclear weapons, but it will melt the soft tissues of the human body within seconds if they ever detonate this. And there are quite a few. I think there are like 12 or 13, 14 on the planet. But it's worse than nuclear, right? I'm sure that the world will be introduced to a slew of new weapons here shortly, because everything is coming out. But this phenomenon that we're having right now, the measurements are going to be incredibly important, because this is going to sound wild, but imagine sometime this year us entertaining the same galactic cosmic ray count times about 1,000 with a force of 1,000. I don't think our magnetosphere could handle that. And in fact, I think it would overwhelm both the north and south poles of the Earth, causing a like St. Elmo's fire to form all over the planet, which means we'd have auroras all over the Earth. And if that took place, sure, it would look beautiful for a couple of hours until the radioactive portion kicked in, right? Then we'd have chemical changes. Inert materials would begin to explode again. That same routine, except this time it would be with just about all inert materials. Even epoxy. If people have epoxy sitting around, that stuff's going to blow up wherever it is. Lithium batteries. Lithium batteries can be affected by galactic cosmic rays, causing them to reach a critical overload point. You can't reverse that. Once lithium goes into its that overload point, it will explode. So can you imagine a lot of the world's cell phones exploding, and people have no idea why their cell phone is heating up within seconds and then poof. And see, these are things people don't think about. But they are things that they keep a lot of folks up at night, because we know people are walking around with bombs in their back pockets, on their ears, and everywhere else. And all it takes is a small chemical change to knock out some of the nuclei within some of the elements within that lithium, and it will overload. It will reach critical mass.
There's a scripture you talked about, and I just found it. It's Zechariah 14:12, and it says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." Soft tissue, melting.
Soft tissue, yep.
So you're saying that this wave, this cosmic wave, if it's so outrageously strong that it messes up the sun's magnetic field or shield, and it messes up ours, it could actually cause this effect to the human race.
That's right, because any type high-speed particle coming inbound, which is unimpeded, right, will knock the nuclei right out of any particulate out there. And once that happens, it's no longer what it used to be.
Well, here's what the oceanic, this is what the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration said today, which is dated tomorrow. Galactic cosmic rays or waves are slowly varying, highly energetic background source of energetic particles that constantly bombard the Earth. But these GCR originates outside the solar system and are likely formed by explosive events such as a supernova. This highly energetic particles consist of essentially every element ranging from hydrogen, accounting for approximately 89% of the GCR spectrum, to uranium, which is found in trace amounts only. These nuclei are fully ionized, meaning all electrons have been stripped from these atoms, and because of this, these particles will interact with and are influenced by magnetic fields. The strong magnetic fields of the sun will modulate in the GCR flux and spectrum of the Earth. Is that what you're saying?
At common count, yes. At common low count, yes. But it's when it's overwhelmed, you can throw that out. That's not going to happen because when it's overwhelmed, we're looking at, if we had maybe 7 X-class flares, we may be okay, right? But we don't. We had, 3 days ago, we had an X-class.
Yep.
Right after that, there was some more activity on the sun. There's some forming right now. There's certain bands forming on the sun, which we're going to face in a couple of days. But look at our volatility on the Earth. We have a bunch of nuclear manufacturing places, right, to manufacture energy. So we have uranium sitting there. We have depleted uranium all over the USA. We have these big mountains with radioactive waste sitting in them that people don't even think of. All these are regions that are volatile. And if something takes place, that uranium that's been spent, those rods that have been spent, they can be chemically changed from the inside out. If that were to take place, then that wherever it is going to be irradiated through the soils. Forget about the soils, because once galactic cosmic rays penetrate the surface of the Earth, they're going to change the chemical composition of the soil, allowing for radiation, more radiation to come through from inside the Earth outside. Every time this happens, the Earth emits higher amounts of gamma rays, right? A lot of people don't really fit that into their modeling, but the Earth produces gamma rays in dangerous levels in some places, so much so they have to quarantine these places or mark them off. Nobody can go in these places. When people, here's an indication. When you see air traffic change, right? When you see it not flying in certain areas, then take note of those areas, because at higher altitudes, they're going to be exposed the most. And every time this takes place, they start making these fly zones. They make these quarantine zones you cannot fly an aircraft through. And every single, all the ATCs are going to get instruction to start diverting flights away from these protected areas.
Wow.
Because they're highly irradiated.
So Southwest Airlines, just went through this debacle during the holidays. And I realized there was a storm, but there's Southwest is saying, no, this hasn't got nothing to do with the storm. They're saying that they were sabotaged. But Mike, are you saying that there's going to be some cancelization of flights and things just because of these waves?
Well, sure you would. Sure you would. Here, a good way to look at this is if we probably won't see it now, but if you ever look at the map and there's no weather phenomena, right? None whatsoever. But then they start diverting flights out of normal flight paths, right? Like I believe they have these trackers on the internet. I believe people can get access to. When you see traffic diverted from these areas, or altitudes, right, are not approved to go up beyond 17,000 feet, you know that something has happened, right? That's a very good indication. If you don't see any planes, you might want to reconsider your whole day, right? We've had that a couple of times, and not one soul took notice. Nobody took note. I didn't hear it anywhere. It was almost like 25% or 75% of the flights were canceled, not by COVID, but they were just gone. And nobody said anything. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, there were 4 specific areas in the USA nobody could fly in. Nobody said a word, right?
Wow.
So if they track these flights and you start seeing deviations, they're doing this for a reason, right? So we're in this thing, we're going to get into a time, Pastor Paul, when, and I believe that's going to happen fairly quickly, right? That most of our devices are going to start going through quirky things. Of course, they did change the internet Wednesday. So some of the quirkiness that people have today could be part of that. But the other part is they're going to be...
What do you mean they changed the internet Wednesday? What did they do?
Oh, the internet has gotten it's been altered. It's not like it was. It's been altered severely. It's been altered. So, Pastor Paul, they're pushing. Listen, they're going towards this new governmental system.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You remember when I said that term, governmental civil war?
Yes.
Right?
I remember you saying that. Yes.
That means they're going to a brand new level of fighting amongst each other. They're going to use brand new tactics. They're going to push this system forward no matter what. I don't believe that, well, as it stands right now, nobody is standing in its way. Nobody is standing in its way. Anybody who dares to do that, they're going to fry them publicly to make an example. They're not going to be able to do this. And it's Christians, as being a Christian, all of us understand that the kingdom of the beast is coming, but here's the issue. Yes, the kingdom of the beast is coming, but as it's forming, I often wonder, how in the world did they get so far in the first place? Because if it were so open, now all of us could see it, certainly, we would start praying against it, right? That's not the case because we can't see it, right? It's right under our noses. And it's just like cryptocurrency. We began to talk on your show, Pastor Paul. We were talking about the system of cryptocurrency, right?
Yep.
How that they're going to take that system and they're going to incorporate this into, some of the major new financial systems that they have. Well, guess what? As soon as we start talking about that, not long after that, you saw the decline, a deliberate takedown of cryptocurrency, which, by the way, it's not going to work. They're just going to have the hand open. They're evening the field for something, because how can it go down and you have all these people who are getting rid of anybody who can oppose them? Remember, we had that talk before. Anybody who can oppose them that's in cryptocurrency, they're going to take them down.
Yeah,
that's precisely what they're doing.
Yes, they will.
That's what they're doing.
So you're saying that, the Bible says that this beast kingdom in Revelation, it says that no one can make war with the beast. It'll even brag about it. Who's able to make war with the beast? Who can stand up against it? And really, no one on the earth can. It has to be done supernaturally by Jesus Christ. We can't. We can't stop it. We can have God in our heart, Christ in our heart. So that He helps us navigate through this as much as possible. But we can't actually stop it. That's what I'm hearing you say. You can't stop a prophecy of the Antichrist and the beast kingdom that's coming. So when you're saying that they're working on these things, they're changing the internet, they're changing the banking system, they're going to the Great Reset, we got the World Economic Forum, we got all this coming. This is all part of a global plan. Do they take into account these waves, Mike? You said there's going to be 17 of these. Is this one that hit today? Is this the biggest one?
Pastor Paul, no. This is not. This is by no means the biggest one. This is an event that will likely, it's going to cause the sun to have effects. It will likely cause the earth to have effects. It's likely going to cause Jupiter to have effects. It will have, probably I'd say with the effects from this pulse will last about a week. So look throughout the week for things happen. We could have quirky communication things. Yes, they're going to utilize anything that happens in the celestial realm. They're going to utilize that for their own advantage. And, one of the points I made was we can't see some of the elements of the beast kingdom, Pastor Paul, because we're born right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm born in it, what about if a person is born inside the kingdom of the beast? They're not going to call it some evil kingdom. They're going to call it home. They're going to call it business as usual. And so one of the problems is so many people have gotten used to business as usual,
right,
that they can no longer see the immoral. I mean, there's some implacable components to this thing that are taking place. And if you think about it, the power of money itself is a real force to contend with. I mean, in the Bible, didn't God only compare himself? Jesus said, man cannot have two masters. You can't worship both God and mammon. So why did he only compare worshiping God with this other thing? And you look at the force of money right now. Money is the false Holy Spirit of the world. Because if a person does not have money, they don't have confidence either. Right?
No.
They don't. And it's very real, because when you don't have money, it feels like you're powerless. But that's not the truth.
No.
That's my biggest, it's just not the truth.
Not the truth.
And so with this ugly kingdom coming in, right, which is coming in fast, it's actually for those of the world, for those who chose evil, it's going to suck them up like a vacuum. They'll all be a part of it. For the saints, It's going to cause us to stand in our positions, because that'll be the final line. Otherwise, we're going to continue to have to play patty cake with the world, and the Father will, we're going to be delivered from some things, but the transition past ball is going to be quite heavy. And I believe this year we're going to see so many things unfold. It's going to be so confusing at the end of 2023, and we won't, the comfort we have right now, we probably won't have then. We're not going to have it at the end of 2023. But those who believe in Christ, if they can stand their ground, if they cannot give in no matter what, just not give in to this, to anything, no matter what, I have a strong belief that God has preserved all of his children up until this point. He'll continue to do it. We're going to have to work in adverse circumstances. We're going to have red dust all over the place, stuff like that. Fires are coming. The water event is coming. I believe that we're going to endure this water event because it's, with all these galactic cosmic rays coming in, the atmospheric issues are going to double. They're going to double. And you heard if anybody listens to the National Weather Service, you guys have heard of an atmospheric river, right? That's I believe one of 15 terms they have made up, because we discussed that. They have to make up terms for some of the new weather phenomena.
Yeah.
They can't deny it. They can no longer deny
all
the
this
fact.
Rain in California, they're calling it now the cyclone bomb. Sometimes you hear the word Genesis bomb, or rain bomb, or whatever.
Right.
They're coming.
And they say that
hyper hurricanes, hypercanes, this kind of stuff. It's new terms.
Oh, it's coming out. And right now, their biggest term is the atmospheric river. And what that is the water, the convection of the water coming from the oceans going onto land. Now we're talking about, it's almost just like a waterfall, because it takes, I believe they calculated 60% of the water that evaporates and is caught in the clouds is falling right back to Earth. That's a lot of water.
That's a lot of
California
water.
is expected to have 13 inches, right? 13 inches of rain from one event is coming up. After that event, they have two more lined up right behind it. One will have 9 inches. The other one is estimated to have a total of 15 inches. And now, with all these weather phenomena coming through, what's going to happen? We're going to have floods on the East Coast coming up. We have 3 specific systems coming up also for the East Coast. We're talking about flooding all the way from the Great Lakes, a little before the Great Lakes, all the way to the East Coast. So it's going to be inundated with about 7 to 12 inches of water, not snow, water, right? So we have all these. The land masses are soon to change, right?
Are you thinking this wave that's coming, this wave that's hitting us right now, it's already causing the sun to explode with a X-class 1.2 solar flare? No doubt these charged particles, I remember you talking about, man, these waves could just suck the hydrogen right out of the sun, that kind of thing.
Could cause a further chemical change in the sun.
Do you feel we're going to have an earthquake? I think I heard you say 1,000% there's going to be an earthquake. Is this wave that's hitting right now, is it going to cause a strong 1 or 2?
I would expect one. Yeah, I expect one, Pass Ball, because it's BP Earthwatch, right?
Yep.
Which I thought was just genius. I remember on your show, he kept coming on there. He was like, earthquakes are tied to the sun. He kept saying that.
Yes, he did.
He said, and I believe somebody wrote, well, how come nobody else is saying it? And I believe he answered, because nobody else is looking like that, right? It was given to him. So
it came from the Lord.
That's a proven issue.
Yep.
Right? That's a proven issue. That is a proven issue. Yep. And so when the sun changes, the earth changes also, right? And all these galactic cosmic rays, whenever there's an inundation of these things in the heliosphere, the sun is going to be affected. It's just going to be affected. The problem is, Pastor Paul, this one, the measurements for this one is going to be critical, because if nobody gets some measurements for this one, and it's not finished yet. It's not. It starts today, right? It's not going to end today. It does start today. It will affect the weather big time. It's going to affect the atmosphere big time, right?
Okay.
We could have. I'm going to give. This is from looking at modeling. We could have an actual, I'll say, medium solar flare, right? one that's the opposite polarity of the Earth's magnetic shielding, which means it's going to directly oppose the shielding of the Earth and do what it's almost going to do what the Carrington event did, but to a smaller region. I'm going to go ahead and say that because the chemical changes on the sun are a bit too much. And the way these galactic cosmic rays are coming in, and based on these wave patterns, the polarity of these upcoming solar flares are not going to be in favor of the Earth. So anytime they're opposite like that, one's going to overwhelm the other, and we're going to be in trouble. To date, they have not, since the Carrington event, they have been in a polarity where the Earth could absorb them. In the opposite polarity, the Earth cannot absorb them, right? They directly oppose each other. And then, poof,
So
that's what will happen.
this incoming cosmic wave is disrupting the natural law that God put in play for our solar system.
It's stability. Stability is, it's almost like stability is being lost.
And he did say this would happen. Jesus even said it, which is strange when you ask the question, tell us the signs of the coming of the Lord, and he tells you about all these stuff that's going to happen on the earth, and then he just stops and says, oh, by the way, there'll be signs in the sun, the moon, the stars, and the heavens are going to be shaken, okay? It's just going to mess everything up. He throws that out there at the same time that all this other stuff's going on in the earth. So is this what he's talking about? I mean, you're saying this thing is just hitting now, but it's not done. So
no, it's not
how
done.
long does it take for this wave?
That's this one. Well, I'll know something much better as far as the ending of it once we can see the count, particulate count.
Yeah.
We're watching a particulate count. Once it starts going down, we know we're at the end of it, right?
Okay.
But there's more on the way. And I'm telling you now, these other ones are bringing fires. People are going to have to get prepped for some things, Pastor Paul.
Fire.
I hope they do. Lots of fires. They got to get ready for fire. We're not going to escape a meteor storm. It's going to be like a hailstorm, but it's not going to be with hail. It's going to be with rocks, debris, things like that.
Yeah.
Right? After these storms hit over this month, next month, let's see, January, February, March. After March, what are the insurance companies going to do? Because you know what they're saying now, right? Maybe nobody knows. Maybe they didn't say it yet. I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody early.
Okay.
They're saying that water levels in the USA and other places are going to permanently change, and they're doing it right now.
In what way?
Now. You know what that means?
What's it mean?
That means some people have houses that have recently been through a flood, and the water is not going to go away. In fact, that water is going to start to trickle up. It's going to go up. There have been certain places that used to have water. They're not going to have water anymore.
Okay.
That's going away. So that means the topography of the USA is altering concerning where water was, where it's going to be. That's going to mess people up. Insurance companies, a lot of people right now are finding out their insurance companies will not cover to get their houses raised. It won't cover it, right? And the expense is too much. I mean, the average person does not have $40,000 laying around to get their house raised up, 3.5 feet, 4 feet. And so the insurance companies are making up clauses right now. They'll be introducing these upgraded policies that everybody will get by email here soon to let them know some of the changes in policy concerning insurance. Certain people are being turned down to cover storm damage because they know the year that we're going into. And if you think last year was an eye opener, this year is going to be. I just hope that people aren't foolish. I hope they can hear the Spirit, Pastor Paul, because if they can't, if they refuse to hear it, if they allow their eye to overrule what's put in their spirit, they're going to mess up big time. They're going to wish they didn't. They're just going to be in this losing thing. The Lord's not going to. He will guide us. He's going to guide us into the best places if we can. We have, as a whole, we have to hear Him. We have to really hear Him this time. And if we can hear Him, we're going to be fine. But if anybody resists Him, that's going to come out of their pocket. He'll chasten them. He's not going to disown them or anything. But they're, I've been hard-headed before with the Lord, and it will take you down to the ground. It really will.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't
you really
work.
don't want that.
You,
You don't want that.
no, you don't want him taking you down, and he can, he will, but he gives you a
It'll
chance.
mess you up.
Yeah, he gives
He
you a
will. He will.
chance.
He does, Pastor Paul.
Yeah.
He really does. He will let people know. Don't. It's just like driving down a road and you get this unction out of nowhere. It says, "Do not take this left." Right.
I know.
And so if you resist it, if you say, "Well, I'm going to take it anyway," that attitude, well, you're gonna face consequences.
Yeah, you will.
I've done that before,
I have
and
to.
it worked out. It worked out just for a little bit. Then everything fell apart, plus some. And I said, well, never again. So I learned to hear him.
Next time
right?
I'm listening, next time you say I'm going that way, the way you want me to go, even if it's out of my way, 15 miles.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, so we're seeing the prophecies of the Bible then are really coming to pass because the scorching of men from the heat, the waters, the redistribution of water, it almost sounds like that. You know, it's like water's going to be where once there was no water, there will be, and where there was, won't be. Rain is going to be is raining in massive amounts in one spot and don't rain at all in others. And even though God said he ain't going to destroy the world with water, it doesn't mean there won't be a lot of floods, won't be a lot of disruption and destruction, landslides and that kind of thing. Fires. You're almost talking about hellfire and brimstone almost falling on the earth. We've seen this happen before in the Bible, but it sounds like when you say rocks and pebbles and causing fires to break out. You told us to be ready for that. So how many days will you be analyzing these particles from this wave? And can you tell us a date for the next wave?
Well, for this wave, I can tell you right now, I'm going to be up for about 78 hours more. I won't be sleeping. It's a lot to comb through and to get right. This year is going to be very different, Pastor Paul. Now, I had to be careful because I was trained with equipment and, technology, and I have patents out there, and I can't mix the two because some of that's intellectual property. And now to be careful what different things I do right now, because if anything is deemed to belong to somebody else or I got it from somebody else, some specific entity, I'll have to retract it. So I have to be even careful right now. But I tell you right now, I'm going to do a lot this year because good people need good data. I mean, accurate and good data. And so there's data out there that's not is outside of a security bubble, right? This is data that's not boxed in. And there's some folks who have they have already been inside the box, but now that they're retired and outside the box, their contacts are not as numerous or in depth as they could be. So if they got the data, they would be they'd be on fire. And so I'm gonna do everything to get that data to. I'm doing a lot of things different this year. Why? Because I know that loss of life is coming. It's going to build up. It's going to come. People are going to have it's going to be something to deal with. It'll seem like people are worn out this year. Yeah. I mean, really worn out. I know that health degradation is going to be a very real obstacle for a lot of people this year. And so I have to do things a bit differently, step it up about 28 notches so that, in other words, give it my all plus my all again. Because I can tell you now, Satan he's gathering his minions, and they're going to push forward a system that is just going to entrap people. And if nobody is ready for this, right, it's not even the case if a person doesn't want to listen or anything else. There are individuals out there, they simply cannot make the faith to believe certain things yet, right? So where that's absent for them, they still believe in Christ. It's just that no one wants to move on information that you cannot validate, right? Because a lot of people have families. And I tell people all the time, if you have children, don't move left or right until the Lord tells you, no matter what you hear, do not move left or right because you have a family. So they need good data, good valid data. I'm going to do everything to get that data out there. That's going to be imperative this year. It's going to be a lot of lies floating around. People are going to see governmental factions start to break down. People will learn of a lot of lies. It's going to be highly deceitful. No validation anywhere. And then we're going to have that event like back in the 1200s where the earth was black. It was dark for about 10 years. I don't know that a lot of people know about that. Even before that, there was a cycle before that. It was dark for about 13 years. We're going through that cycle again. And this is a cycle. This cycle happens 8 times before the big cycle happens. And do you not know this is going to be the 8th time? So
you say
they need that data also. This is the 8th subcycle of a bigger cycle. The 8th one where meteorites smack into the earth, where the sky turns dark for a number of years. This is the 8th one,
wow.
And it's coming.
We're about to see this. It's about to happen.
It's coming. It's coming. And so, anybody out there who has the real data, the real knowledge, and can really can get it out there in a very responsible way, they need to. I'm certainly going to do everything I can to get that data to the right folks, because if they had that data, they don't have to guess or theorize, and they can really put a picture together.
All right, now, Mike, and I want to say there's over 10,000 of you here tonight. We're glad you're with us, and we're hearing some really great information from Mike around the world to help us understand about this wave, this January 5th wave that has hit, has affected the sun already with an X-class 1.2 solar flare. Mike's already can see some of the data, already see some of the particles and the data that's affecting. I can hear in your voice, Mike, when we first started, that the magnetosphere of the sun, if it affects it too much, it's going to really mess up the Earth. And this is the first of 17 of these waves. There's 2 questions I got.
17 events. 17 events, Pastor Paul.
And one is
17 events.
There's a water event. You've said that back in the webinar.
Yes. One is an impact.
It's an impact. We're going to get hit with an impact in the ocean somewhere.
Yes.
Is it going to affect a populace?
I'm sure it will. I can only assume that it will. I'm going to have to assume the worst on that one and say that it will. It's not going to be a planet killer or anything like that, but it'll certainly it's going to cause some trouble in certain places. So as we get closer to that date, trajectories will be out. People will start picking it up too around that time. It's not that it's going so fast nobody can track it. People are going to start seeing it.
Yeah.
They may not know what it is. They're going to start seeing it. It'll be a matter of days when they track it. That will give them, their personal trajectory of where it's going to hit based on the rotation of the Earth. And it would be it's a good chance it's going to hit right in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be a good example. That's going to be the first of many penetrations in the atmosphere that we have, not aerial burst, but actual
impact. Yeah, actual
space to land contact or space to ocean contact. So we're going to see a lot of that. A lot of these inundations that's going to cause fires. That's a big concern of these. It's going to cause fires. A lot of these rocks that are smaller are attracted to certain parts of the Earth, like Mexico. That just draws a lot of objects will be drawn directly to Mexico. There are 9 more spots in the Earth that will attract due to the magnetic field lines. Gravitational pull is going to attract things right to that area, and so those will be tracked as well.
So, Mike, let's a couple more questions here. Is just not to change the subject much, but to ask a question here. I can't get into it. We have to be very careful when we start talking about pandemics. We just know, you said a lot of people are going to die in China. I've seen the reports here in the last 2 to 3 weeks. The numbers of people that are dying is outrageous. And I'm sure they're not getting all the information out. Are you concerned about this? Is this limited? Is this a major concern of yours?
Well, Pastor Paul, some very bad pathogens out there. Now, because of the pandemic, they're not going to release the information of any future pandemic like they did with COVID-19. Okay. They're not going to do it.
Because of what it does to the economy, or just because it
just... Yep, they won't do it. It just sends everything in shambles. They found it was a lot of things that, a lot of findings behind that.
Yeah.
And things did not work as usual. They're not going to release that information the same way. They're just not going to do it.
They're going to let are they going to just let it play itself out?
Well, imagine if they never said anything about COVID-19.
Yep.
Right? People would have gotten sick. A lot of people would have died, but no one would have blamed anybody because they wouldn't know what it is.
Right.
It's very easy for those organizations to play dumb.
Yeah.
So this time they're not gonna do it like that.
No.
They're just not gonna. They may come up with a shot and say, "Hey, come and get this brand new flu shot," or whatever the case is, but they're not gonna announce it like that because they tried it. It didn't work, right?
Nope.
In my eyes, I would say this: they knew what was happening, and they used it. They used a very real circumstance for several agendas, and it kind of backfired on them.
Yep.
Right? They were the ones that, and they ended up choking each other out, and it didn't work too well. In times past, they would use the same type of incident to their advantage and to find out what the populace would do. I can tell you right now, the populace, they cannot predict what the populace is going to do very well. This will be seen with this governmental breakdown that we're going to have. I know I keep saying that, but it's very real. They're going to a new level of fighting.
Well, we're watching right now, and I know this has happened before in 1859, just before the Civil War. We're watching right now where we can't get a house, they can't agree, the Republican Party itself can't agree to choose one guy to be their Speaker of the House to move on with their agenda. And you feel the entire governmental breakdown going on in every agency and every legislative group and every branch of our government. There seems to be this melting down. Is that by design?
Well, you have individuals in there. A lot of them are they're spokesmen for powers. The real power, right, in all governments are the civil servants.
Yes.
It's not the people that you see. It's the people that have been there for 15, 20 years.
Yep.
They know exactly what's happening. These talking heads couldn't do anything without those who sit in the background. So, but people have bought the fact that the people who they see on television are the people with power. That's not the case.
No.
The people the career individuals that have been there for a long time, they're the ones that dictate what the outcome of certain things are going to be. When something goes to the floor, right, there's always hidden components. It's almost like, they're told which way to vote. And what you're seeing now is part of a civil war taking place, where those individuals in the background are giving they're given the freedom, I guess you could say, to influence those talking heads a bit more. But then you have the talking heads who think they're more powerful than what they really are.
And then the people in the background, they actually.
So expect them. That's right. Expect these talking heads to get the boot, because now the populace is going to start calling for the removal of senators, for the removal of Congress members, and then that's going to be their car to go ahead and do it. So everything will seem reverse. It's going to be very confusing, but in truth, it's nothing more than a brand new system being forced in. You have to make the old system look like it's broken and beyond repair so that everybody accepts the new system.
And they cry.
And I'll tell you something. Yes. If people heard enough, Pastor Paul, they're going to call for a new system, just like people will call to go to one of these places with barbed wire fence, with concertina up all over the place. They're going to say, put me in that safe place.
Yep.
Because lawlessness is building.
It's happening.
It's funny how people cannot see it. They can't see lawlessness building. And I hate to tell everybody, but everybody is armed to the teeth. I mean, these people are armed. There are militias out there. It's a lot of traffic, a lot of radio traffic from militias every single day. People are ready to move. And as President Trump has now entered back into the arena, you're going to see an ignition of some things, right? My advice to everybody would be this. Make sure you're standing in the kingdom. Support what is godly.
Amen.
But don't count on whatever's right. That definition can be changed. They cannot change what is godliness. They can change right, because, Pastor, a lot of things that are right are wrong.
Yeah.
And many things that are wrong, they're calling right.
Right.
They're doing that right now. And this young populace, they believe it hook, line, and sinker. And some of the older folks like yourself, like myself, like some of your listeners out there, we're far and few in between. And it's almost like even in the family unit, the parents are losing their seniority in the house.
Yes.
Right? The children the children demand what job the parents get.
Yes.
By what they want. Because they demand what they want, the parents go get it.
Yep. They're not. The parents are no longer running it. The inmates are running the asylum now, and that's happening. And by the way, our society breakdown of the family, all of this was by design. And so, Mike, I'll be filming you soon for the webinar, which is concern about CERN, World Economic Forum, Agenda 2030, and the New World Order. And I don't know if you heard me say earlier, but Stan Deyo, he did the New World Order. It was phenomenal, and we just heard from, I just filmed Doug Hagman on the World Economic Forum. Both of them were phenomenal presentations. And when we look at, and I don't even know what part you're going to touch, it don't matter, you can hit any of the four or all of them. I can't wait to hear what yours is. But what you have been telling us is the breakdown of the system. The governmental breakdown, the economic breakdown, the societal breakdown, and it's by design, isn't it, Mike? This is by design.
Oh yes, in certain circles, Pascal, everything is going just as it should be.
As the plan, yeah.
Yep, just as it. And I guess my amazement is this: because a lot of people really can't see it, they're not going to stop it. In fact, a lot of people's not knowing they support it. One of the worst things a Christian could ever do is support evil because they didn't know it was evil, right?
Right.
That'd be very bad. It's just like certain rights that people used to lobby for, and then they turn around and took those rights, put them into law in a very twisted way, and now then they legalize some things they shouldn't have legalized through people's what they thought was right, and so we have a lot of that going on right now. Right now we do. And this war has expanded. This war with Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, tell us about that.
It shouldn't even be called that. It should be called the Western Alliance and Russia. Russia and Russia's allies. They moved some pretty hefty things into the oceans. I mean, some really hefty things into the oceans.
Some kind of
both the USA and Russia. In fact, Russia deployed just this morning, they deployed another. One of the most valuable ships that they had is deployed right now. Now, what does this ship do? This ship carries nuclear rounds, nuclear warheads on a hypersonic. That's what this does. You can't shoot down a hypersonic, save for a laser. The only thing that can intercept that is a laser, which is what Israel and the USA have been working on for the last 3.5 years. I mean, they've really sunk some money into this. That's the only way you can intercept it. That system is not quite up to par yet, right? They also have subborne hypersonics that travel in the same way with certain classifications of ICBMs that travel. So we have some issues. And the way they're doing Putin right now, Putin is he is in the corner, right? Yeah. He's in the corner. The propaganda is starting to really enrage him because the propaganda does not line up with the facts of what's happening out there. It's just not lining up.
He don't like that.
Everybody's going to see no, he didn't like that at all because of course, the propaganda, most of the news is covered by the West.
Yes.
You can't get Russian news, right? You can't get RT like you used to and all this.
They
have effectively silenced Russia. And the Ukraine will say anything the USA wants it to say.
Yes,
That's what I was hoping everybody would see during this visitation.
Yeah.
That Zelensky will say anything
he wants to say.
That President Biden wants him to say.
Yeah.
It's not we're not talking about the people. We're talking about the leadership.
Right.
They're absolutely forming something right before people's eyes, and it will explode. It's going to. I give it a month and a half, Pascal, and it's really going to explode in a big way.
In other words, you've been saying that Ukraine's the staging ground for a much broader, bigger war between the West and Russia, the United States and its Western alliance, against Russia and its subordinates. We'll throw Iran and Turkey or whoever else they want to throw in there, maybe even China. I don't know. China's kind of the oddball because they're kind of like waiting to pick up the pieces after everybody's.
Well, they gave the technical specifications to North Korea about what they were missing. So China's actively involved.
They are,
but nobody can do anything about China.
What about this?
Who can?
The North Korean drone today overtopped the presidential office of the South Koreans in Seoul. They
Yeah.
got it into their airspace. They were over top. They had 5 drones, and one of them got completely over top the presidential office in South Korea, Seoul, South Korea today.
You know what? That's also a strategy. One day, I would not be surprised. Because have you noticed how North Korea does things and nobody intercepts what they fire? Have you noticed that?
I know. They let it happen.
They send a rocket into space. It orbits the Earth. Nobody shot it down. So that means they can shoot an ICBM right now, right? If they had that ICBM, if they had the warhead in some type, if they had that it's a cryo shell you can put over there so nobody can detect the radiation coming off of it. If they put that on there, if China gave that to them, if they put that on that warhead, they could launch an ICBM and nobody would know until it hit.
Wow.
And it's too late to shoot down an ICBM. Once it's coming down, it's too late. You can't do that. If something were to go over the USA, they couldn't shoot that down. That would affect the entirety of the USA based upon what the winds are blowing. You can't do that. You have to get it when it's going up in the air before it arcs and hits its, that explosion zone.
2 more questions, Mike. 2 more questions that people have been begging me to ask you. Have to ask you before we let you get away. One is the Pope Benedict, of course, funeral was today in Rome. I was stunned when I seen that his casket, instead of doing the funeral inside St. Peter's Basilica, they put it out on the stone steps. So people said, could it be? And wanted me to ask you, is this what you saw today? The casket?
Not the Pope. Not the Pope.
No.
Not the Pope. And you know what's so strange, though? Because the stone steps were involved, right?
Yep.
I'd say that would be more of a foreshadowing than the actual event. The actual event, stone steps. Let me paint a picture. There's going to be a person standing up. There's going to be 2 people or some folks to the right, to the left in uniforms that nobody really knows who they're designated with, right? Okay. They're not going to know who these folks are, but they're going to escort this individual down the steps in the middle of a raging crowd. There'll be an armored vehicle to receive this individual. That's exactly what I saw. During this time, the streets are going to be full. People are going to be angry. They're going to be angry concerning the casket. It's going to be a major blow to strategies, to policies, to everything else, and everything changes at that point. Because what people don't know is this. If we get the wrong leader, right, our entire military is going to war not more than 72 hours after that person steps in power.
Wow.
There are too many things negotiated. Here's a position we're in. There are too many countries that are very delicate to talk with right now, right? There are countries that they have stopped from going to war against us several times. This is a part of politics not too many people talk about, but things have been averted. Very serious things have been averted. Lives have been saved. Now, this is through compromise. This is through negotiation, right? It's through compromise and negotiation. So what happens when we get somebody who won't compromise and who will not negotiate? We're going to have to fight. The fight is coming. It is coming. And when it starts, it will not stop. It's not going to end in one night. I even have a strong sense that somebody's going to smack us first. Somebody's going to get us first, Pastor Paul. I just have that strong sense that we have our guard down.
Yeah.
And there are other countries they watch with an eagle's eye to see when is the best time to strike us. They talk to us all the time. That doesn't mean a thing. They're poised right now to strike us. All they want is to get through, right? They want a good opportunity to hit us. That's what they want. They don't care about anything else, and they're going to do it. People are at their breaking point. Alliances have totally broken down. People are realigning in the Middle East. Everything is realigning in the Middle East. We're going to know next week. Watch what comes out against Israel next week.
Let's talk about
it was a draft.
That. Okay, go ahead. What was it?
There are things drafted against Israel that when they come out next week, people are going to really scratch their heads on this and shake their heads on. They're going to say, no way. They're going to see things unfold before their eyes. And it's going to seem like nobody can do anything about it. But I hope that everybody understands that this one's not going to be a bluff. It's not going to be some broken, a broken idea, some ideology. This is going to turn into policy quickly. It's going to be the way of the Middle East, and not too many people are going to like it. We're not going to see the USA stand beside Israel as close as people thought. We're just not going to see it.
Yeah, I believe that. I totally do. One last question before we let you go. Of course, Ben-Gvir, he's the Minister of National Security of Israel. He went to the Temple Mount to pray. First time a member of the Parliament cabinet, if you will, went up on the Temple Mount in over 5 years while in office. The United Nations Security Council called, slating to meet because of this. They're calling this an emergency meeting is coming. The two nations that called for it was the United Arab Emirates and China. Why is China? And you know, when you start looking
you just saw it, right?
Yeah.
The United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, and
there it is, right there.
Keep
your eyeball on those guys. Keep your eyes on them. And you remember when I said I do not trust Jordan?
Yes. Oh yeah, Jordan
you
said it was a red line.
Right?
Jordan said
okay, all right.
Jordan
That's
said
why I don't
if he
trust
prays, Jordan said if this guy goes and prays up there, he crossed a red line. And he said it's not our fault if an intifada begins. Okay.
Well, now you see, because a few years ago, a lot of people, they like Jordan. And they asked me, they said, well, do you trust, who don't you like? I don't like Jordan. I don't trust Jordan.
You don't trust
because
him.
I know what Jordan's ultimate. Listen, these guys, it's just like the average person. When something catastrophic or a person is introduced into high stress very quickly, right? You know what a person does? They go back home. And what that means is a person will go back to what makes them comfortable and what they actually belong to. While everything is relatively peaceful, people can venture out. When things get very stressful, everybody goes back home, meaning they go back to their foundational beliefs. They go back to the people they grew up with or felt comfortable with. They go back home. That's what that means. And when this takes place, Israel will have zero allies in the Middle East.
Wow.
Everybody will be against Israel. And the USA, what are we going to do? We're going to, it's almost like seeing a person that you're not really tied to go through something very bad. Now, you can either deal with their stress with them, or you can totally cut that person out of your life and say, well, that's their problem. I have my own issues here, right? That's exactly what we're going to see. This is the mentality we're going to see form.
You're going to see Israel abandoned. You're going to, in other words, we're going to abandon Israel.
Fully abandoned. Fully abandoned, and by policy only will someone intercede, right? But people are soon to see that policy start to take shape, and they're not going to like it. People are not going to like it.
We'll keep my eyes open. I'm going to be there in about 3 weeks. I've got a window. God told me, He said, I'm giving you a short window. You're going to take people in, you're going to get out. He said, there's some things going to happen, but you've got a window, and it sounds like the policies are going to start being revealed even before I get there.
Well, you know what? I do pray you have a safe passage. I'm sure you will, Pastor Paul. You're preserved. I know that you're preserved.
Yeah.
But
it's getting
it's
hairy,
just things are happening quick. Things are no longer in the realm of theology. Well, not I'll say theories right now. They're not in the realm of theory. Many things will become fact this year.
They're not theories no more. They're reality. It's fact. Yep. Mike, this has been a great show. Been great. Keep an eye on this wave. I know you will, that we're experiencing. And when you do get information, maybe the next time we have you on, by next Thursday, you'll have a better feel of this thing. We'll probably have seen an earthquake or some other events took place. I might be calling you early to get some questions answered. And you stay safe too, wherever you're at.
Yeah, I'll be up for a few days looking at the data. Look for chemical fires also. Those are other things that normally happen with these, inbound things here. So I say about a range of 15 hours, we're going to see we could see some heightened reactions from it. Right.
All right. I'll be watching. We'll keep our eyes open. Thank you so much for giving us a heads up. And everybody's going to be asking you all about it. We'll be talking more. And I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a very great conversation tonight. And I think big crowd tonight. A lot of people wanted to get some answers, and you did your best to give them to us. And It's real world. It's happening as we speak. It's happening. So
It is.
appreciate
It really
you giving
is.
us a heads up on it.
God bless you, Pastor Paul. It's always an honor.
It's an honor. The honor's mine. Trust me. I'll look forward to talking to you. God bless, brother.
All right. God bless.
Mike from Around the World, folks. Works hard. Man's working hard. He's going to be